Hi everyone, good morning. Alright, so she has introduced me already. First, so my name is Vikram Shetty, I'm director at 73 Bit. First, I would like to tell what are my credentials, why am I qualified to even talk about technical subject. So, to name a few, uh, I've written code in multiple programming language, namely C Sharp, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, R, a little bit of PHP, Java. So pretty much most of the application development language I've been well versed. I have 10 years of experience in corporate. I've worked for L&T Infotech, Cognizant, and as my last role, I was an application architect working on international client for healthcare in Switzerland. So I've traveled quite a few countries, worked with almost throughout my career, I've been only working with international clients, apart from a couple of insurance company in India. After that, I run a company which has employed, currently we have 25 members. So that's another part of me where we have a product and almost there are 4 to 5 technologies that are integrated because of the depth of the product that we have. And again, that has been used uh, with over 140 countries by now. So pretty much anywhere there is an access to internet, our application or our tool has been used. So that's a little bit of a brief why I think I am qualified for talking about technical aspects. And here, what we have done is I will not keep on sharing different aspects of technology, but it's more about an interaction and Q&A session. And the reason I'm doing it, because I'll tell you a story. So when, for those who don't know, I have been the student of the first batch of BSc IT of this college. So that gives me access to come to the college often. And during that time, especially in my TUI, I was not a bright student uh, uh, till my second year. And third year, I remember a professor. He was not a professor; he was the person from industry, and he took us the subject of C Sharp. So C Sharp was just introduced. .NET, I think, was 1919, 20 to 2000 was the introduction of .NET, and by 2003, when our class was there, he, because there were no professors, because it was a new subject, so that person came. I think he didn't took more than 3 or 4 lectures actually, because he had to go to Australia and he had to work. But he showed me he showed every one of us, not me, a web service, and and it was the first time where he got it. Like, you guys are lucky, we never used to have projector. So he bought his office projector. He flashed on a green board. So our office projector was on green board, and he showed an example of a default web service, and he showed how a data can be passed over HTTP, and you can just send messages here and there, and that kind of hit a light bulb. And that, uh, like, I would say that was a seed for my curiosity towards programming. And using that, and because in my team, not many, in my team means in my college group, there were not many programmers. So I took the initiative based on that. Okay, I think we can do this. And then that became my main career language. C Sharp is my primary programming language. Till date, I write some piece of code occasionally when I get a chance on a depth level, like a thread or a performance and stuff like that. But haven't that seed been put during my third year, I might have not been a programmer. And I think I'm a decently above average programmer, in the sense that I can create a product which can be sold, and which can solve problems. So pretty much what the market needs. So that's good enough for me. So that's about it. So that's the reason I'm doing this, so that at least if one of you who has inclination towards technology uh, can ask some questions today, and if I am able to answer, and if that person get and joins our club of programmers, I would be more than happy. So, and who wants to go the first, the bravest heart in the room? So this is the most difficult one, and if you crack this, mostly all the interviews in the future life and everything will be easy for you. So who is taking the plunge? Any question? The important is you have to ask a question. Nobody? Okay, let's see what's the record this time. It's okay, 11:14. No questions? So are you guys been forced to sit in this room? Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Yes. Okay, what's your name first? Abbas. Arbas. Clap for Arbas, please. So he showed up. Yeah, what's your question, bro?
As we are learning new languages, like now we are learning Java. But sir, how to stick to one language? How to master that particular language?
Got it. Brilliant question to start. That took him around 30 seconds to stand up, but again, a good question to start also. You can sit, you can sit. So I'm not your professor, so you don't have to keep standing. You can sit and ask also. So that's not a problem. But if you want to be on camera, you can stand, show your face. So yes, so how to stick? So he's telling that he has, and I will repeat the question just for audio purposes, nothing like, and so he's asking if we start with Java, how to make that as your primary language. So that's a brilliant question. So most of you, I'm not sure if the people are ambitious, but most of you will end up some kind of a business application. You guys will develop some kind of a business application in your future, be it a job or be it in business, but more or less 80% of you. So there will be always one language that either you will feel easy to do, you will feel comfortable to do, and you will enjoy doing it. Okay. So one of the ideas that I can share you is whenever you're learning, during even your learning phase, you give 50% of time to your primary language. Okay. And the reason to do that, maybe a couple of fold, but primary two reasons could be: firstly, you want to make that as your primary language, and you want to be known as a Java expert in this Arbas case. So so that is one thing. Second thing would be, the more you do something, so repetition, what happens with repetition is, the more you start doing something, the more better you get. Okay, it's like any other practices. Okay, so I will tell you my story of my college days when I was in the lab. So even though C Sharp became my language, but while programming, I found C Sharp as difficult. But there was an HTML class. I'm sure I'm in board of syllabus, so I know that you also have that subject till now, and it's important to have that kind of class for other reason. So, for example, when I did a table TRTD, when I first figured out how to do a call span and a row span, and I know you might think what it's such a easy thing, but for me, being the average student, when I discovered that, and when I could figure out in the table, I can figure any call span and row span, it clicked me. It's like solving puzzles. Any of you solve Rubik's Cube? So once you know the algorithm, like the first step, and anytime, then it's a competition of race. Like, can you do it in 3 minutes? Can you do it in 2 minutes? So similarly, once you find a language and if you do it multiple times, so repetition, so for that you need to give time, and once you do it, it will become like driving a car. Like, for the first time when you start, you find it very difficult for those who drive car or even bike for that matter. But once you know how to change the gear or see the mirror and all, it becomes of a second nature. So similarly, even for those who find programming in this case particularly Java is difficult, if you keep on practicing, so you give a major time allocation and you practice it. That's how you master a particular language. Okay. So second question, yeah, you want to ask? Okay, no, nobody. All right. What's your name? Mahesh. Hi, Mahesh.
How to become a full stack Android developer?
Okay, great. So, uh, how? Sorry. All right. All right. So, mobile development is a great line to go to. So, as you know, in Android developer, the core language is similar to Java. It's almost like it's Java programming. So, your primary language always becomes a Java. then your native, whatever the UI bit it is, whatever that you want to learn. So you have to study the UI part, and whatever the storage, the phone storage or cloud API connection or whatever the way would be, you have to. So in when you are learning a programming language, you are only learning the fundamentals of that language. But when you are want to develop something in a platform like iOS app or Android app, or in fact, there are other systems in place which are platform based. For example, even cloud computing also is platform based. For example, what you do in Azure, the same thing you do in AWS could be completely different. Conceptually, they are same, storing in a blob or storing in S3, but you fundamentally the actual mechanics of doing it could be different. So when you're doing a platform based thing, you have to be a, like as you rightly mentioned, it has to be full stack, because until and unless everything gets connected, it the product is not out there. So in that, the amount of effort that you put in each particular parts of it, you have to be very uh, like you have to put concentration to it. But what I would recommend is you have to first master a bit of a Java first, like the fundamental of programming first, algorithms. So all those basics should be first cleared, and then you have to move to the app base or the platform base efficiency to it. The problem, what could be a common problem challenge is like when I wanted to fiddle with Android and then I skip and then I went to this native. I don't know if you know the name. It's pretty much like a web API on it, and it's pretty much a JavaScript and HTML thing. And on the back end, we connect to APIs, REST APIs and stuff. I found it easy because I knew JavaScript and I know how REST API works. Because my fundamentals were stronger there, I own and I could do that as a web API embedded in an app, and that's how I created my first app. So it depends upon the your fundamentals on the programming language that the platform adhere. So now if you see, if you extend to this, why there are more Android developer than iOS developer? Because in iOS the language is Swift. For those who don't know, so that language people might not know or they have not studied. But in Android, it's from Java, it's open source, and people know it. So that's why the inclination is towards more towards Java than towards Android. Does it make sense? Okay. All right. Next question, please. All right. So all these how-to questions, right? I'll just tell you, like this is an opportunity to get a bit more deeper. Okay, all your how-to, Mr. Google will take care of it. Okay, all of them, like all of these questions they could have asked to Google, they could have done. I will answer that, but you have to ask your like some question which is very personal, not which market wants or something. That is something that you are struggling with technically, or something that you are facing challenges. Yeah, after that. Okay, so something that you are facing a challenge, so that it is useful for you, not for what the market wants or what are you struggling with. That's a good opportunity because you have someone from the industry who has been almost programming for last 18 years. If you consider college times, no, college mein koi coding nahi karta hai. So but yeah, 18 years. So how to become a web programmer? Again, the fundamental learning would be the same. So you have to be good at HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's your fundamental. On the back end, it could be any technology, be it Ruby or C Sharp, Java, REST API, or anything. Or it could be a pure cloud-based thing, and then you can connect with the with many other direct databases. Okay. Here I want to point out, for example, if anybody wants to do a web programming and for the backend they are not so normally this I have encountered this personally. I have also encountered and with the past students, they find it a bit difficult when it comes to Java, right? The like HTML, JavaScript, people almost get adjusted to it. C is another Pandora's box. We'll not go there today. C++ and all. So we'll keep it aside for now. The reason I'm keeping it aside, not because I want to show my technical skill. The reason I'm keeping aside is because for majority of you, the application programming would be primarily on uh, Java, C Sharp, or Ruby or Python. So these will be your four pillars language, popular language, jobs are available there, a market needs that. So that could be one of the reason. But you could also consider in the web programming a language called as Ruby. Anybody knows Ruby? Heard about it? Raise your hand who knows about it. Okay, so only three or four. Raise your hand properly so I can count. Okay. Great, nice. So this is good. So there are only five people. So you learn, rest of you learn something new. So there's a longer language called as Ruby. So that also is a web-based programming. And in the West and in many of the SaaS-based product worldwide, which is being used, Ruby is one of the prominent language, and it's very easy in the sense it's naturally a functional programming. So it's you can relate it to Java script, and that's how you can relate to it, and that can be used. So HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and JavaScript is you need because for the web programming, and on the back end you could use Ruby, C Sharp, Java, anything. So that would be. And these days, if you want to go more one language specific, so instead of Java, you can make your advancement in JavaScript completely, and in the backend you have Node.js, which is again in JavaScript. So that would be, I think currently it's the most popular language also in according to Stack Overflow. So JavaScript can be also the path. So there can be multiple paths depending upon how fast or how you want to make it stronger. And my recommendation is anyone who is doing whatever language, try to do at least intermediate JavaScript. You will have to learn it because somewhere or the other you will encounter that as and when you are doing any web-based application. Okay, does that answer your question? Does that answer your question? No. All right. What's your question?
So right now I am in TY and I
Right.
have my final year project. I'm working on my final year project.
Right.
So my final year project is based on AR and AI.
Great.
So in that I'm having difficulties modeling the AI
Mm.
with the AR
Right.
in order to detect face and everything.
Wow. So she is doing vision computing. You are doing most likely vision computing. So nice. So you are asking first standard question. Now straight away she went to 10th standard question. Very good. Excellent. So so what I will do normally whenever I start any new project in any other space, like for data science, we are doing some work. So I understand what an application is there. I know that Google is already trying auto-driven car in California. I know that things are happening. I know the power of AI already, and then I don't know the language specifically what technology which yeah. So you will have the problem. So you don't know if you want to go through that Google's TensorFlow route or you want to use open source Python route or anything. Okay. So this is a very common, very nice. Listen, this could be the 5 minutes that could help you with your final year project. So what we need here is what skill that I'm using is I'm using a skill called as solutioning. So whenever you're working in technology, it's not about only writing code. It's about solving a problem, and when you solve a problem by providing a solution. But how do you go to that solution is the technique, normally called as problem solving technique, but industry it's called solutioning to the problem. So what is the solutioning we can provide to her in this particular case? So what I will normally do is, for example, and can I just get an idea about your application? What like recognition? What are you using that?
Not hair detecting
Hair detecting.
like texture of your hair.
Okay.
I'm getting trouble with Flutter right now
Oh,
because I was thinking about making my app iOS and Android
nice.
and also website.
Got it. All right. Okay. So I will give you a very old school and a very simple thing of whenever you have a this is a big problem for student. Okay. So whenever you have a big problem, first you have to break down. Okay, break it down to the most basic part. So first of all, I will break the project. I will remove all the external factor. I will not create iOS. I will not create Android. I will focus on web first. Okay, because I have my because why? Because I have my laptop. I have a webcam to it, and I have myself, so I can see my hair in that webcam or whatever it is. So firstly, I will break it down to that. Then what I will do, I will find examples outside in the world where these problem, because we are not trying to solve anything that has not been already solved. So all this problem has already been solved. What we are trying to do is we are trying to solve it ourselves so we can learn how to do build that. Okay, so first I will try to see what is the technology available to solve this problem. Okay, so TensorFlow is there, then Flutter is there, then Python's open libraries are available. Uh, I don't know. I think MATLAB also has a functionality where we have to do a research, but it might also have, because vision and all, it has its. So first, I will figure out which technology could be could solve your problem, and then I would do and reverse engineering to figure out which is the most easiest language to learn. Okay. Now here, because the reason why you do a project is to get the whole experience of end to end with idea to product. That's the whole vision. And what your external person is looking is, have you solved the problem yourself? And how you solved the problem, what was your method to solve the problem, and if the external in this case ask you some question, are you able to make that changes, or at least tell them how you can make this. Those are the rules of the game that we are trying to play here. Now I'm being very application oriented here for two reasons. When you go out in the industry also, that will be also the same reason. They don't want the best .NET developer in the world. They want to solve a business problem for which they are making £5 million next month or next year, and they want this application to save 100,000 K or 2,000, 200,000 K. So that's always a practical application for them. Or if it is a startup, they are for raising the next round, so they want that application. So I will do a reverse engineering, figure out which is the most simplest thing. So what happens is, if you go with an idea, if this is the technology I want to go, and if you get stuck, then again you are struggling. And I think I was also struggling when I did my NLP project in my MSc, and I think I used a list, and the whole round bracket, like, it drove me crazy, and I couldn't figure out certain things, but I managed to complete, but not fully. So I will reverse engineer that. I'll take a sample example, not the higher one, maybe whatever the standard cat dog thing that is there, and maybe take a part of it and try to study that code first. Okay, and then I will create a variation of that thing. Okay, so in the industry there are multiple terms to the whatever I told you. There are multiple terms. So it is called as, first you have to create a proof of concept. Okay, so before you get into a project, all your deadlocks, so this is what you have faced is a deadlock, or like you're getting stuck. So first you have to make sure you don't get stuck anywhere. Okay, so you have to chalk out all the complex pieces of it. Okay, whatever it is. Huh? Uh, like a, not like a road. A roadmap is, I will do this on day one, this on day two, this on day three. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about, for example, the next problem you will face is about clusters. Like there will be, like, it will work for certain kind of images or faces, and then you randomly bring a foreigner or some other people, and your program will break. So you know that. So you have to understand that constraint and decide if you want to fix that problem or not fix that problem. Okay, so those are the, whatever your difficult pieces are there, you have to first chalk that down, and then you have to do the POC of it. It also called POC. Some There are other work that, like, the slang of it is skunk work. Basically, you do a program to throw away. You're doing that program to learning, not to doing your project. So your project is going on here, but on the side you're studying that algorithm, understanding how to do that texture thing, and then maybe reflecting, changing it, or whatever it is. And then once you learn that, then you try it in a project. If it works, well, you go ahead. If it doesn't work, stop, again come back and do. So this is pretty much a scientific method. You try something, see, you make correct, works, not work, come back, make some changes. So you have to continuously do this loop. In a everyday work, what happens is, in morning, if you get stuck, normally in a day job, what people tend to do is they just do that same thing till the end, and they go nowhere. But what my recommendation is, it's my recommendation when we did some performance work recently. So what I told my team member is, can we test something within 2 seconds of performance? A performance can be checked in 2 seconds because uh, it's all the recording is in nanosecond and microsecond. So if this is say our page load, so page load, our target was to bring from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, right? So can we test something and check if it is what is the current thing? So he earlier he used to take 1.5 days to test one page. So we brought it down to 2 seconds, and then we in a day we run 10-15 experiments, and then we figure out what a solution could be. So I cannot prescribe you exactly what technology or what that thing is because I'm not qualified enough to know how Flutter works or how what is the syntax about it. But again, because I know the fundamental of programming and because I know how to solve problems, I can use that learning, apply it, and then you can figure out how to do that. Great question, Mario. Thank you. All right, anybody else? So this is the kind of questions you should ask so that it helps you. Yes, please. Right. 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 Complex also. All right. So this is a okay and right. Okay. Got it. Got it. Brilliant question. So so the question for those who didn't hear is right now if for example web services you did a web service the classic hello world you did hello world you created a service it shows hello world you show it on your html you're happy about it. And when you go to the job and when you either you become a junior developer or intern, what kind of work is there? What is the scale and what are the normal? I think the deeper question is what are the common challenges an intern could face in the real world? That is pretty much the core of the question. Excellent question. The reason it is excellent question because it will make a difference in one extra zero in your next year's paycheck. Okay, and if you understand that how much it is important for you, you can draw your normal salary, put a zero in the end. That's the difference between this question and how you approach to this while you are in college. It will make a huge difference. And the reason I'm saying that is because of ideally two reasons. Many interns and junior programmers work with me, have worked for us, sorry, not for me, and some of them have went on to just a 10% increment in the job, but at the same time other person is now currently working for Facebook, Meta. I'm sure most of you know that. Those were the two same people. They were working for us doing similar kind of job. One is working in almost Facebook, another one is having a mere maybe 20% hike in his salary. So that's the difference we are talking about here. That the depth of this question. Okay. So the outside world will be a very complex. So what college has done is excellent. Like they have given you all the fundamentals, basic, your concepts they are getting clear. But in real world, your programming skills only play maybe 40 to 50% of your work. Okay. Because if you try to solve a wrong problem, you are wasting 2 days of your time. That means the company is losing money. That means the client is unhappy. Similarly, if you are asking the right questions and figuring out the right problem first, and then making sure whatever you are doing is what is required, or even if you are not doing or not unable to do and informing it to your team lead and getting help that is required to you could be a game changer. Okay. Now coming back to the question, normally interns and juniors get the most basic work. Okay, I will use that term as basic as possible. Ideally, what they will get is cleaning up some of the data. That could be one of, if they are in data analysis or data science. Either they will get some reports at the fringe of the application, which are not important report and but people are asking about it, so they create that report. Either they will write couple of functions or couple of classes, which could be a low important thing like showing a list in a grid or in a JavaScript table, or they will get in, and this is really this can become a really problem. They might go into support and they might have to fix bugs, so the system will be buggy. So it can be any kind of a visual bug or actually some in-depth bug, and they get caught in it because they don't understand the whole architecture, they don't understand design, they don't understand abstraction, polymorphism, and things like that. And as soon as they got the bug, they will try to fix something that they see, and it kind of has a ripple effect, and something else gets broken somewhere else. So these are the normal work. So normally you will be thrown into something which are relatively smaller than the rest of the team. You will not have the bigger picture that time, but you have to kind of learn on the job. What recommendation I can give is, your study doesn't stop at college. It actually starts at college, and then you like almost continue after that. So while you are doing any task, you have to do it from a point that what new you are trying to learn and what are you trying to discover. That's you should be your focus, and that's how you kind of grow. So don't have to worry. And then I've seen other thing also, like like whenever you join a job, even if you are a hopper, job hopper, you will stay there for at least 1 year just to make sure your resume is not like currently it is very market is super hot, very nice. But if even if you are sitting there for 1 year, you have to be very careful and plan your learning accordingly, so that you can study. You have a whole roadmap, and then you can study according to it, so that by the end of the year your skills are almost 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times more than the job you get. And also second thing, there is nothing to lose when you are normally what people are afraid, they don't know how. They're the first time they are getting a job, they are afraid ki if I do a mistake, they will fire you. But normally it doesn't happen because they know you are junior, you are bound to make mistakes. So you should keep taking some challenging work or keep asking for more work, which is beyond your time or beyond your comfort zone, so that it will give you some valuable learnings that you can later use and kind of use it. So what I think is 50% of your would be programming, then 50% will be proactive learning is what you have to concentrate. Does that answer your question? So, so normally it depends upon what kind of role you have. So, say suppose simple, you are a programmer, any JavaScript, C Sharp, whatever. So normally what will happen is, depending upon what the programming, normally it will be an agile, so it will be a monthly cycle or a 3 week cycle or 2 week cycle. So at the start of it, the team must have got a requirement or some kind of a work. So there is already a product, a part of a product will need to be developed. Let's say for simplistic reason, uh, a master page is there for some reason, or just for everyone to understand what's a master page. So you will get, most likely you will get the front end part of it. So you have to put table, you have to put buttons, and you have to put text boxes where you can put all the master information. And then on the back end, it should connect to either an API or ORM, which could be entity framework or whatever. And that connection, and then you say. So you will do this work maybe for 2 or 3 days, and then you will hand it over to a testing team. If they share any bug, this is a mandatory free and it has to be alphanumeric, but you are passing it anything and all. So that repetition will be there. So most likely this, or maybe there is a report, and that report has uh, graphics, charts, some tabular data, some free text. So you have to make sure the color of that chart is as per the branding standard of your client. The numbers on the chart is displayed properly. So all those kind of nitty-gritty work you might get. Okay, so that could be one of the problems. If you are really skilled and really good at programming, and if you are one of those companies where they are doing maybe data science work, AI work, then you will straight away be thrown into an algorithm-based problem like this, the project that we talked about. So in there, like they will even specify which algorithm to be used. I mean, in the case of, is it KNN or is it other standard algorithms that you might use for your machine learning? And then most of the time you might have to keep running the test model, so that you'll put some test data, see the output, see the difference, refine your machine learning code, see the algorithm, see the, so this kind of work could be normally there. Or maybe in some cases it could be migration, data migration. This is a very common thing. So daily job works at the night and the data is updated. So whichever payments are done from yesterday to today, you might have to run a set of 7 reports and flag any wrong information in that and report it into another system. So this could be some of the work. It all completely depends upon the kind of job that you get. Good question, by the way. Next. All right, so we are almost, we are only 15 minutes. How many of you have mobile phone? All right. How many of you are on Twitter? Okay. So for those who are not on Twitter, okay, go and search me. And I've given a 25 question. If you go on my profile, Vikram Shetty, you search Vikram Shetty 73-bit, you should find me. And there are 25 questions I have written. Okay. Those are all seven yes or no questions. So those are already there. You can go and start answering that yes or no question. I will read few of the result at the end of my session. Okay, nobody's interested, no problem. So I will check that. Any other questions? Yeah. So it's not like that. So what his question is backend really stable? Okay, stable in the sense you don't have to learn new things when it comes to backend. Like for example, JavaScript. When I used to do, there was plain vanilla JavaScript. I think by 2010 the jQuery came. Then Angular JS came. Now React is the new thing. Then there is Vue.js. Almost, it's not hit India yet, but it will soon hit. So Vue.js is the new thing. So this question is that the front end technology keeps changing rapidly, but is the backend stable? So backend is more or less stable in the sense is ki the data which are normally stored for big corporation, either it is stored in SQL Server or Oracle Server. Now it's Amazon's Firebase is also coming up. So there are few options in the backend system for the security of the data and the capacity it needs to store and all. Okay. Even in terms of languages, you can't say it is stable because we used, like all of you are still learning object-oriented programming, but there is whole functional programming language like Clojure, Ruby. So all those are functional languages. So in that, the backend is functional in behavior. But more or less, what will happen is the database will have some kind of a SQL kind of a query thing. But if you again go for MongoDB, which is the backend which is normally used for NoSQL, which is again a document-based backend, which sits behind Node.js. So if you see that, that is almost different from how SQL works. But what happens in the industry is, like there are some old technology you might have never heard about. Anybody has heard about COBOL? Okay, the two of them. So it's basically a very it's it's called as the elephant in the industry. So all the big banks, big insurance company, their core system is in COBOL. That's sitting like behemoth. All the data is in COBOL, and it is pulled out, and then the temporary database are stored in SQL or Oracle, and then it is published to the web services and stuff. So this, for similarly, for last 20 years, SQL and Oracle has sat in these big companies. So to change that, it's a big task, right? So I know a couple of stories. I think both Facebook and LinkedIn. So LinkedIn took almost 7 years to change their database and technology from old technology to new technology. Facebook from getting out of PHP to the better technology, to React JS and all. It took, by the way, you know, right? React JS is Facebook's technology. Okay, great. So it took many years to do that. So the transition is too much. There's already legacy code sitting there. So that's why the stable or not stable conversation comes into picture. But if you go out and see as a structure of it, the fundamentals at many level are similar. The transportation is via HTTP. The data is either relational or not relational. There are search algorithms which are search algorithms. The binary tree will be always there. The sort search, bubble search will be always there. The way we do it might change. Okay, there will be temporary calculation and modification and storage, and from there you will pull. So all these things will still remains. All the algorithms in machine learning are the primary algorithm for recommendation, for image searching and everything will still remains the same. So even that instability is you should not be too much afraid of. And see, as a field, for example, if we compare computer science with building or architecture, like building, constructing building is a almost, I don't know, 10,000-year-old technology, 5,000-year-old technology. Computer science as a concept is not older than, like, the application side is not older than even 50 years. Like if you see even this type of cell phone, this is what, 12-year old. The technology used in it, even the concept of a touch phone. So we are such a young industry that the initial time, because everyone is learning, the changes will happen rapidly. Okay, but the fundamental concept will still remain the same. Like house, after 10,000 years also, it has a floor, it has a roof, and it has walls. You go to any building, that fundamental structure will not change. So similarly, in programming, there will be loop, there will be value variable assignment, right? And there will be some kind of storage in form of database, file, or cloud. So all this fundamental application will not change. Okay, but relatively speaking, you are right. The backend is kind of more uh, similar. Nobody is asking for that change because nobody is seeing it, and it's working normally. It is not costing. But UI hard. You need keep on engaging with users and all. So you have to keep on changing. All right. Yes, please. All right. So great question. Very yeah. So it has nothing to do with computer or that. So I didn't found the company. The company is London-based company, and so Carlos is the founder of the company, and we acquired the company in 2015-16. So I and my business partner, who is actually my classmate from my batch. So he and I acquired the company from him around 2015. Bit is, as you know, it's a computer bit thing. So 73 is the year in which Carlos was born. That's it. So there is no big thing there. The only advantage we get is whenever we go to conferences. So before Accenture, our name comes because we are the only company in that whole conference whose name starts with number. Otherwise, there is no big in-depth story behind it. It has worked. Right now, people are thinking we are a crypto company. We are not a crypto company. Any other questions? Okay, people, are you guys visiting? Anyone given the vote on Twitter? First of all, you guys found me. If you are not able to find me, I'm not sure how are you able to find jobs, huh? Oh, yes, yes. All right, quiet place. Okay, I'm getting vote. Okay, so there are 5 people who said coding is their passion. So, who thinks coding is their passion or they are passionate about coding? Great. So for you guys, life will be beautiful going forward. Nice. So there are other questions also you can check. The reason I've created this 25 question is I sat a couple of days back and thought what all things a student should know before they come to the working world that you can learn or do in your college. So all the question, whatever yes or no is there, all of you can do it. Okay, it's a simple search. It's something that you can study and see and try tiptoe and see if it is you like it or not, and then you can decide to accept or reject. Okay, next, any other question? Yes, please. Okay, so JavaScript is the most, hands down, the most popular language currently commercially. All the startups, all the new age company, JavaScript has been asked. I think the coming up language is Python because of data science and all the buzz around it and all the machine learning algorithm. So these two is something that is new. I would recommend that. But for those who are interested, you can. How many of you know Stack Overflow? Okay, that's if you're a programmer, Stack Overflow is your like it's a must. Like you, I know it's not a right thing to say to the student, but it's a very nice uh, website for all your questions. So you can ask any programming question and they will answer. And every year they do a popular program survey. Okay, so you can even go back and see in which year which language was there. And why I'm telling you go back, because you have to see a trend. Okay, so for example, in 2010, like if I remember correctly, 2010, 2011, Java was number one, and SQL was number three or something. And now, if you see, I think JavaScript and Python has come. So you have to see the trend. If the language is declining, that's something to be worried about. And you have to see if the language is coming up. So even if the language was at number 10 in 2010, but now is at number 5 in 2022, that means it's going upwards. So that means it's upcoming. And why it is important, it could be a risk, but then the competition is less. For example, if you go now for JavaScript job, the competition is cutthroat. Because of remote job that we do, I get almost, currently I think I have more than 2,500 applications. Because remember, even we are working, most of my team members are working from Mumbai, you are competing with the rest of India now. It's no longer ki the job is an andheri. The job has gone to cloud. Get this very clear on your head. So you are competing with everyone, not only from India, but people in Philippines also. As soon as you get this under your head, the more good it will happen, because even the big giants like TCS, Infosys, and everyone are at least moving towards hybrid office. There is no fixed desk concept in the office right now. My company is completely remote, so I have people from Andhra Pradesh, Rajkot, Bangalore, Nasik, Pune, Navi Mumbai, Vashi, all over the places. Okay, so it's very, so earlier I used to come to college to hire people, but now I don't need to, because there are people who are working or even working better and are more like they can compete better also. So I have choices too many right now to hire people, and that too my base salary is minimum. As soon as I increase my base salary, my sphere automatically increases. So I'm not trying to put you down or making you scared about things, but I'm just making you aware that you can do whatever here in this campus. But once you get out after your TI or SY is done, things can get a bit difficult if you are not prepared enough for it. So, but there are a lot of opportunity as well. Similarly, if you are competing, but you can sit in Mumbai and do a job for someone in Jaipur or someone from Bangalore or even Trichy or anybody. So, or even international, right? So that is also possible. So it's both ways. Even here competition is great, the opportunities are also open. Okay, next question please.